correspondent Shapira traveled to Stockholm, Sweden, where members of the Jerusalem Institute of Justice gave lectures at Uppsala University and in the Swedish parliament. The subject, a controversial issue, the violation of Palestinian human rights by Palestinian authorities. Here's the story.
Changing a misconception may be a difficult task for many of us, but when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the mission is even harder. For the last couple of years, the Jerusalem Institute of Justice, a human rights group and research organization founded by Calev Myers, has tried to do just that, holding Israel advocacy sessions for university students around the world.
I'm always excited when anybody in the world wants to come and hear the truth.
After sessions at Oxford University, San Jose State University and the European Parliament, the group is heading to Sweden, a sharp critic of Israel and a country with a growing Muslim population. Their first stop is Uppsala University, one of the biggest academic institutions in Scandinavia. One of the main topics raised here is the refugee question. According to the UN organization UNRWA, at least 5 million Palestinian refugees are living abroad. JIJ Vice President Eli Khazan, however, tackled the issue from a different angle, raising the topic of Jews who lived in Muslim countries and became refugees in the 40s and the 50s.
We should know that in addition to the persecution of Jews in Europe, they were brutally persecuted in Arab countries as well.
I appreciate your very delightful words of propaganda and disinformation. There were immigrants and refugees, and it was a part of the Zionist plan.
To say that they immigrated because of an ideological desire to come to the land of Israel is simply inaccurate.
On the second day of their journey, the JIJ members head to the Swedish Parliament in Stockholm.
But what we've seen is there's been a direct correlation between the amount of autonomy given to the Palestinian Authority and the abuse or deterioration of Palestinian human rights.
The atmosphere here seems quite delightful, but only a few minutes before the discussion, the local newspaper posted a quote from the Diakonia NGO policy advisor Joachim Wolfield, slashing Mr. Myers, saying his views are extreme even in Israel. A clash between the two sides now seems inevitable.
Is there a question and not a big one? I have a question.
I would love to have a debate.
Please.
And we'll just put stuff together.
I've never met a Palestinian human rights activist that has been honest enough to directly confront the Palestinian Authority on their human rights abuses. So what you're doing is you're deflecting everything I put on the table today back to Israel.
So if somebody in Sweden says something that might be against the Palestinian Authority, it is like they are scared. So I think it was important that he come, because we need to hear that view as well.
After 2 intensive days, his mission was accomplished. Myers and his friends are planning their next journey, and the Swedish audience who watch them may have something to think about regarding human rights, diversity, and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
$40,800.
Yes.